While the whole world is collectively talking about a certain Sony Marvel film, let's take it back a bit and talk about another Marvel film. Let's get into it. Hello there, Clapperheads, and welcome to a brand new edition of ClapperCorns. I am Nick Dorian. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Marvel film, The Marvels. Now, straight off the bat, The Marvels hits the ground running, which sort of sets the tone for the rest of the film. This is something that's so jam-packed with action sequences that it kind of leaves the story falling by the wayside and has very little depth to it. Sure, it's a lot of fun and those action sequences are great to watch, but apart from that, there's very little else going for it. Now, to put it simply, The Marvels is about, and I'm going to quote the IMDb page because this literally is the synopsis, Carol Danvers gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, forcing them to work together to save the universe. That really is all there is to it. You'd think with a film that's combining the force of Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, and Carol Danvers, we are going to get an epic story and an epic film that goes along with it. What we did end up getting was an hour and 45 minutes of very plain jokes, some backstory here and there, and an overall feeling of, alright. Which is such a shame because this film could have been so much more than that. And I think one of the major downfalls of all this is the unwillingness to delve even further into the characters' stories and the emotional depth that each of them would have. One of the major instances of this is of course with Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau. The two of them have not met in a long time. Carol has not seen Monica since she was a kid. And there's this sort of resentment that Monica has towards Carol because she never came back. But when they are finally brought together, you have maybe a minute or 2 minutes of reunion and then immediately, okay, let's go into the next thing. There wasn't enough time for us to connect to these characters on a deeper level, and there's so much rich backstory you could have done with this. Director Nia DaCosta has delivered a film that sure is a lot of fun, but that's all there is to it. And when it comes down to the characters, you've got some great actresses at play here. You've got actress Iman Vellani playing Miss Marvel or Kamala Khan, who brings this sort of youthful energy to it, this fangirling over Captain Marvel. She's all of us that grew up with comics and just love superheroes. She was fantastic to watch. And then you've got Teyonah Parris playing Monica Rambeau, who has such an emotional depth to it. You know she was trying to get as much emotional energy out of it as possible, which really made you connect to this one character. If anything, she was actually one of the best things about the entire film. Which then brings us to Brie Larson, aka Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers herself. Now, one of the main issues surrounding the first Captain Marvel film was the fact that Brie Larson played it very stoic and very sort of one-dimensional in that sense. There wasn't much emotion coming from her. And I hate to say it, that happened again this time around. Now, I don't really know who's at fault here. Could it be Brie Larson? Could it be her interpretation of the character? But just something does not work. And one of the major instances of this is when Carol was talking to Monica about her mother, Maria Rambeau, and how she still feels the loss for her mother. This is a moment that could be very emotionally charged and could target the heartstrings. But the way that she delivered the lines, you could tell that she was acting sad rather than being sad. And when you've got the center point of this film being Captain Marvel playing it out like this, it brings you out of the film because you just can't connect. The whole film lacks this human connection that we so miss in early Marvel films. And speaking of the early Marvel films, what have they done with Nick Fury? What has happened to this strong leader who could kick butt at any point? He's now been reduced to this sort of fuddy-duddy old uncle who is actually the comedic relief of this whole film. It's a great disservice to the character that Nick Fury is because this is a leader who took charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. and who's essentially a father figure to a lot of superheroes, and now he's just this funny old grandpa who makes quips every now and then and loves cats. Also, what Marvel did great back then, and even up to the point of Infinity War, actually no, even after that, what they do great is the fact that their villains have two sides of them. Like, you know they are bad, but there's also a bit of good in them, and we understand why they've become the villain. That was not the case with this one, Dar-Benn. It just felt that Dar-Benn was hell-bent on destroying the universe because she just wanted to take revenge on the Skrulls. That's essentially it. There wasn't any sort of time for us to understand why she became like this and make us sympathize with her. Marvel made us sympathize with Thanos, but didn't let us sympathize with Dar-Benn. And that's purely boiled down to the script writing because Zoe Ashton is a great actress and she was doing the best that she could, but the script in this was just subpar. And don't even get me started on why they wrote in a musical sequence on a planet that just sings. That was so unnecessary. I think it bears repeating. Marvel needs to remember that what made Phase 1, 2, and 3 so great that has been missing in Phase 4 and 5 is that emotional connection, that wantingness to know more about these characters and just feel their pain and understand their pain. Those films made us cry. I don't think any of these future films will make us cry at this point or even make us feel anything, and The Marvels is a great example of it. Now, despite all these setbacks, is The Marvels a bad film? No, not necessarily. Is it a good film? Not necessarily as well. Sure, it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of action, and there's some laughs in there that will keep you entertained. But past that, there's nothing much more to it. So do yourself a favor, The Marvels is now streaming on Disney+. It is an entertaining watch at the end of the day. There is a lot of fun and a few laughs, but past that, not much else. And who knows, you may enjoy it. That's the beauty of films. I might have my own opinion, you might have your own opinion. Certain people may like it, certain people may not like it. That's what filmmaking is all about. You can't please anybody, and this is one of those moments. But if you did, let me know in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on The Marvels. And as always, check us out on all social media. It's all on the screen at the moment: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please check out all those social medias for all those updates. Thank you so much again for watching. I am Nick Dorian, and as always, keep watching the movies.